Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here with the Wrestling Challenge Review Series. This one for April 26, 1992. This is right after, within a couple of weeks, probably 2 or 3 weeks after WrestleMania 8. To me, WrestleMania 8, one of the last really good WrestleManias, but that's because I grew up in that era. So, anyhow, um, I'm partial to every WrestleMania before. Oh, 14 probably. Anyway, uh, Bret Hart opening things here. He is your newest or new Intercontinental Champion, defeating Roddy Piper at WrestleMania 8 in what I consider to be Piper's best in ring performance of certainly his WWF career. I love Piper on the mic, don't get me wrong, but Piper in the ring has never really been great for me. But Piper in this match with Hart does some really special stuff. Anyway, um, Hart comes off, hits a couple of shots there, and and back heel trip kind of does the kick to the midsection, and Hart does his basic stuff, the the elbow drop from the second rope on the inside, the backbreaker, and the sharpshooter, and he gets a quick victory here. We go to the um, main event area, or the special report area. We are reminded of the Ultimate Warrior on Superstars earlier in the week, maybe even the same day, depending on your syndication market. Talking about the betrayal of Sid Justice. Yes, they were putting Sid and the Warrior in matches together. There are many children with painted faces in line for the Warrior, and they actually show Sid attacking the Warrior post WrestleMania match. Hogan still crawling around, and that's that. Mainly, though, they wanted to get the idea that the Warrior and Sid was a good idea post WrestleMania 8. Anyway, we go to Skinner. Skinner, formerly Steve Keirn of the Fabulous Ones, guy who ran the Florida Championship Wrestling before the current NXT deal happened. The Florida Championship Wrestling deal is there. He's facing Red Tyler in this match. Really basic moves, but you don't really need a lot when you're doing the Skinner style gimmick. Sends the kid into the top turnbuckle. I don't know. I think Skinner came in late '91. By this point, in '92, kind of an enhancement guy, maybe one or two steps above that. He's got the chewing tobacco in his mouth and opens his mouth wide as can be. Kind of a little bit of a gross deal there, but it is what it is as far as things are concerned. And tossed to the outside. Skinner not willing to or not wanting to take a backward step there. They brawl for a little bit on the outside. Skinner takes a few extra shots, kicks, and whatnot, clotheslines, and the like on the inside. Skinner eventually hits a inverted DDT for the victory. Then we go to the event center with Sean Mooney. Gosh, I miss Sean Mooney. Sean Mooney, so much better than any of the announcers WWE has on staff these days, other than Samoa Joe. Samoa Joe, having the wrestling background, actually is intelligent, and I know some people are going to say Corey Graves is, a good announcer, and I'm just not there. Anyway, they're hyping Sid, by the way, managed by Harvey Whippleman. Sid basically saying the Warrior should have fear of him as the master and man that rules the world. He should fear him every time it's dark outside. Sid with a very inconsequential promo here. Warrior basically said there's nothing to fear. Sid isn't a god, and he's not afraid of Sid or anything. He hasn't seen a man that rules the world. If he had, he might have some fear, but there's no reason. Vignette for Crush is next up. Crush, they do a kid crushing a can or something like that in the early part of the vignette, and well, that's basically what this amounts to. Pumping Crush as the kind of a next big thing. Of course, it's interesting to me that the name Crush as a heel that had been used a year before, something like that. SummerSlam 91. Yeah, not even. Maybe 6 to 8 months before. Pretending he's not the same guy doesn't really make sense to me. Anyway, Rick Martel in an enhancement match here, wearing kind of pinkish purplish tights. Martel, by 1992, kind of lost in the shuffle. You can get a good match out of him with just about anybody. I think this is around the time, post WrestleMania, where he starts working with Tatanka around the horn, trying to get Tatanka ready to be something bigger. Some body slams by Martel. The enhancement talent kicks him off, and there we go. It's pretty boilerplate stuff. Martel goes with the shoulder tackle. I mentioned it in other audios, but the idea that Martel, who was a former AWA champion, never rises above the mid card except for being a tag guy in WWF never really made sense to me. Anyway, Martel hits the cartwheel and then he hits the Boston Crab, gets what he can out of that, and gets a victory there. Tatanka is coming to the ring here, and Martel gets in Tatanka's way because they're crossing paths. Tatanka basically embarrasses Martel. Tatanka with a series of chops, including sending the Barry Hardy, no relation to Matt or Jeff, out to the ring apron, hits some chops, brings him back in the hard way, and does what he can to light him up. Tatanka with a couple of elbow drops along the way here. Pretty cool stuff if you're a fan of Tatanka's. In any event, he hits the elevated Samoan drop and gets a victory here. Tatanka goes undefeated for almost 2 years in this time period, and you didn't really hear about that sort of thing. So there must have been a desire to get more out of Tatanka than they did, because him dropping to Ludwig Borga just struck me as weird. Anyway, we go back to the event center, and they're plugging different matches, including but not limited to the Repo Man saying he's going to tow the British Bulldog away. Then we go to a promise of issues between the Legion of Doom, Hawk and Animal, former tag team champions. Who are they facing? Well, they're going to go one-on-one, oddly enough, with the Beverly Brothers, and basically pride goes before the fall. Promo not the best there, but it is what it is. We go to a returning Kerry Von Erich. I say returning because he did disappear for a little while. I think this was around the time he disappeared. Lady's still a fan of Kerry Von Erich. Von Erich never really does come back to himself, and in less than a year from this taping, he's passed away due to suicide. Going to go to jail for, or suspected to go to jail for drug possession, cocaine possession, and chooses suicide instead. And so that's that. Texas Tornado is here, and ultimately he manages to do what he can. Very basic stuff, of course. By this point, he loses his foot in '86, and he's been wrestling years without a second foot. Not that anybody knew until maybe some people knew in the AWA when Colonel De Beers took the boot off. But the idea is that not a lot of people knew how much Von Erich was struggling, and we see him with the kind of punch, and the adversary heads to the outside. Von Erich doesn't do a heck of a lot. Uses the claw, but not as a finishing hold here. Match is relatively slow and plodding, which for an enhancement match you don't normally see. Tornado finally hits the discus punch, 1-2-3 victory for him. Then we see an interview with the $1 Million Man and the Erwin R. Shyster IRS, Money Incorporated, your tag team champions. They are continuing their feud with the Natural Disasters, the former charges of their manager Jimmy Hart. Natural Disasters couldn't get the job done in more than a year together, and Hart chose to basically sell them off, or the contracts off, which Hart is known to do throughout his WWF tenure, to the Money Incorporated, and Money Incorporated becomes the tag team champions here. They gave an opportunity to the Natural Disasters at WrestleMania. Natural Disasters didn't get the job done, and they have the line here that the two bad things and natural disasters in the world is not having all the money in the world and not having the money to pay your taxes, and they close. So there's your tag team champions for that time period. And Big Boss Man up next. Big Boss Man obviously a major star in the area. Kids still having the Big Boss Man buddies. I actually had one of those as a kid. And so those the wrestling buddy things. If you've never seen them, they're worth checking out. Kind of a cool thing. Anyway, Big Boss Man manages to, ultimately kind of go really simple in this enhancement match. Not that anyone would expect anything different. It's an enhancement match after all. Boss Man willing to challenge just about anybody. They're about to do the nails thing. Boss Man comes off the ropes and, hits a couple of shots right across the neck. Then we see Boss Man kind of doing the rope clothesline across the neck. Comes back in and stomps on his man. Then we see Boss Man hit the Boss Man slam. 1, 2, 3. Hook the man up to the ropes with the handcuffs. Interrogate him. Blah blah blah. And away we go. Boss Man still a major force for about another year in the area. Papa Shango up next. Papa Shango missing his cue at the WrestleMania 8, late to enter in the Hogan main event. I think the Papa Shango and Warrior thing was at least considered at this time, and they followed through with it a little bit later. Papa Shango, obviously the voodoo high priestess or whatever he is, does a fireball in the hand, kind of just to get extra graphics going his way. Punch kick on Buck Zumhofe. Rock and Roll Buck Zumhofe of the AWA fame is here. He's now rotting in some prison somewhere in the Midwest due to child indiscretion, to say the very least. Anyway, flying clothesline and the shoulder breaker by Papa Shango gives him the victory. Shango is here. That gimmick lasts probably until early to mid '93, but he's not here a heck of a long time. Although he comes back with several gimmicks along the way. They plug the World Bodybuilding Federation, which they're still serious about in the spring and summer of '92. And obviously that never really goes anywhere, but hey, what are you going to do? Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. WBF Body Stars is the focus of things. Then they're plugging a house show series. Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart feuding over the Intercontinental title here in 1992. Michaels thinks he's the better man. Hart says that Michaels is cocky and doesn't know how to be a champion. Of course, Michaels has Sherry as his advisor, manager, and the like. They do the plugs for the upcoming match itself, and this is, I believe, a Boston Garden show series. Boston Garden this coming Sunday. British Bulldog of the Repo Man. Nothing to write home about. Beverly Brothers and Legion of Doom. Those weren't bad matches. But Beverly Brothers bumped around for him pretty well. And Bret Hart versus Shawn Michaels for the Intercontinental title on a Sunday night in Boston. And then your main event, not worth the price of admission. Warrior and Sid Justice in your main event. And that didn't go very well for very long. In any event, that will close us for right now. We may have more episodes up today depending on my schedule. We will be back with the Elimination Chamber review later tonight. Gosh knows why. It's modern day WWE. Can't be very good. Anyway, till next time, keep your feet on the ground, minding the moment.